Management is a vital element of all organizations. These videos show you, the student, how concepts in the text apply in the world of business. Part 1 introduces the nature and purpose of management. It traces the development of management theory and describes the relationship between management and society. Global management is introduced, a theme that continues throughout the text. The first video fittingly portrays a company that has been a success both here in the United States and internationally, McDonald's. Narrated by Paul Newman, the video traces how entrepreneur Ray Kroc built McDonald's and how it is still run today to reflect his values. Kroc's values, quality, fast and friendly service, value, and clean surroundings are the mainstay of McDonald's operations all over the world.
Willkommen bei McDonald's.
Bonjour madame, bienvenue chez McDonald's.
Buongiorno, benvenuta al McDonald's.
Hola, buenas tardes, bienvenida.
Hi, welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order, please?
Every minute of every day, McDonald's is opening for business. Today they'll feed over 20 million people, more than any other restaurant or food service organization in the world. And every 15 hours, a brand new McDonald's is opened. In any language, in almost any part of the world, McDonald's has touched our lives. It's a remarkable story and hard to imagine after looking at today's worldwide McDonald's that it all started with a 15-cent hamburger and one man with a dream. Ray Kroc was born in Oak Park, Illinois. The year was 1902. His mother made him practice the piano, and when he wasn't playing baseball himself, his father took him to watch the Chicago Cubs baseball team.
When I was a kid, my nickname was Danny Dreamer. And I was always dreaming about opening a lemonade stand, or a popcorn stand, or a taffy apple stand.
If our future is found in our dreams, Ray Kroc got an early start. He was a born salesman, quick-witted and charismatic. And he thought hard work was more important to success than anything else. At the age of 52, Ray Kroc was selling a miraculous device called a multi-mixer, which could mix 5 milkshakes at once. And one day he got an order for 8 machines.
8 multi-mixers in one place. I said, this I have to see.
A couple of brothers named McDonald in San Bernardino, California, wanted them for their revolutionary kind of hamburger drive-in. The McDonald brothers had created a very successful formula: quick service and quality food at good value. And Ray Kroc saw the potential of franchising it. It was the 50s. He saw America moving to the suburbs, a country on the go. Families that wanted good food in a clean place without having to fight their way into teenage hangouts. And Ray Kroc could see McDonald's serving them all. With that touch of Danny Dreamer, he had a very special quality to see things as no one else did. He put together a team that worked to fill that vision. Before the paint was dry in the first arches, McDonald's was expanding in high gear.
We opened Islip, New York on October 15th, east
Listening to Ray on a dictaphone message in 1958, we can hear what growth sounds like.
On the 21st, which was yesterday, and we will open Toledo on the 27th and Canton, Ohio on the 29th.
And so, from what seemed a simple way to sell hamburgers, a unique company was born. It was a corporation that imposed strict rules, by the book, so to speak, where every detail was checked and rechecked to guarantee success. But it was also individually owned. The franchisees were entrepreneurs, free to run their own restaurants, to be their own boss, allowing their creative energy to flourish. Some of the most popular menu items were the creations of the franchisees. And their creativity even affected the look of McDonald's. The restaurants mirrored the times and the neighborhoods they served, always innovating, capturing fresh modern forms while never forgetting their number one function was to serve the customer. From Los Angeles, California, to Vancouver, British Columbia, from Sao Paulo, Brazil, to Hudson, Ohio, to Tsukuba City, Japan, the look can be very different, but you always know it's McDonald's. And the change wasn't only on the outside. In Chicago, franchisee Angelo Lencioni created what he calls the rock and roll McDonald's.
I'm 48, and I grew up in a time when life was a little better. I thought it was, at least. It was during the 50s, where there was a cultural, music, automobile revolution going on. It's my way of showing the folks what it was back in the 50s and 60s, of why we are where we're at right now.
The same McDonald's management style that allows this creativity is being applied around the world, and the result is often a benefit to the community in community service. In what has become an annual event, 100,000 people gather in Lyon, France every summer to participate in McHappy Days, sponsored by the 4 McDonald's restaurants of Michel Antolino's. It's a day of music, games, and spectacular displays, all for a special cause, to raise money to send medical teams to Thailand and Cambodia. The doctors make artificial arms and legs for the refugees. McHappy Days has created a bond between the people of Lyon and the people of Southeast Asia, and that's created a special feeling about the restaurants of Michel Antolino.
Our customers love to come to our restaurant because it's like coming to visit friends. It's important for cities like Lyon that a business establishes an identity with the community it serves, that it has its roots in that community. Because when you talk to a customer, you are also talking to his heart.
Here's another way of talking to the customer's heart. It's Valentine's Day in Mexico City. The crew members came up with this idea. Dinner by candlelight, it would attract couples as well as families. What makes all this possible is a business philosophy that's loose on individual creativity, but tight on operating procedures. McDonald's chairman, Fred Turner.
The system is so unusual. You know, this business of 2,500 presidents, that's mind-boggling. These people have their own companies, their own organization. They're in business for themselves. Okay, they're following a pattern. There's a marketing symmetry. There's a menu. There's a standard of quality. But the day in, the day out, the management of that to a standard is in their hands.
It works because the relationship runs deep. This restaurant is one of the 5 owned by Herman Petty. When he was given his first franchise in this rundown neighborhood, it took an act of faith.
What else you need?
Fish fillet, small fry.
Let me have that. When I first got in, like I said, I'd never been into the restaurant business. So they gave me a complete whole new education. To me, this is more than a college degree itself, you know. I have a whole new career, and something like I just almost found myself.
Ray Kroc's partnership model enabled corporate McDonald's to maintain uniform consistency and quality, and at the same time allow each store freedom to create an amazing identity with the local community. And that's the point. McDonald's is your McDonald's wherever you live. It means that every community, every culture is respected, from the 21st century to the Renaissance. For hundreds of years, Bologna, Italy has been known as a city of arches. So when McDonald's decided to open here, the world's most famous arches easily took on the weathered, crafted look of Bologna's arches. Even the floor was done by hand, using an old-world technique that is slowly disappearing. Franchisee Severio Solinio used other local artisans to help in the transformation.
Abbiamo assunto we have hired local architects. Paolo Zali is one of the artists that we hired, and what we have tried to do here is basically bring the outside architecture inside the store.
In Paris, near the Sorbonne, this McDonald's has created the feel of a leather-bound library that attracts more than students. This couple travels 40 minutes almost every day to have lunch here.
Here they change everything you ask, and they say thank you.
And they have a smile.
That's
wonderful. They say always, first thing they arrive, they say bonjour.
It doesn't matter how long it takes or how they get there. The customers always seem to find McDonald's. In Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where a lot of them still come by horse and buggy, a couple of railroad engineers routinely make an unscheduled stop at the tracks that run behind the restaurant. When the sight of the arches stops a train in its tracks, you know the simple formula of serving quality food, fast and friendly in clean surroundings at good value, must be working. Ray Kroc never forgot that principle, and it's another reason Tom Peters chose McDonald's as one of the top companies in his bestseller, In Search of Excellence.
And Ray was a beautiful, old-fashioned entrepreneur who kept it simple, even as his institution got big and giant, finally. The homely virtues of letting the franchisee have a lot of control, and the homely virtue of incredible consistency in delivery of those French fries that both Julia Childs and I think are the best in the world, seems to be still going at 10,000 units. And so it was keep it simple in the midst of growing complexity that I think was the true, if you will, management genius that Ray Kroc brought to the party.
It was one thing for McDonald's to grow so rapidly in the United States, where a hamburger and fries are practically the national meal. But when it reached out to other countries, there were some nervous moments, wondering if a Big Mac could make it in another culture. When McDonald's entered Japan, a world of rice and chopsticks hardly seemed like a welcome place for hamburgers and fries. But that was before Ray Kroc met Den Fujita. As a measure of his devotion to Ray's vision, Fujita still eats a Big Mac every day for lunch. And that special understanding of his marketplace allowed him to blend one culture with another. Today, Den Fujita and McDonald's own 600 restaurants in Japan. Sales there were more than $1 billion. But even though he's in his 60s and could take it easy, he still sounds like Ray Kroc, planning to double his restaurants by the year 2000, which would ring up $4 billion in sales.
I can do it. Yeah, I calculate my computer, so I think I can do it. From now on, yeah. Today is first store, not 600 stores.
McDonald's helped Den Fujita with its quality products and business philosophy, and Fujita helped McDonald's with his knowledge of Japan. That's another reason for success. When everyone helps each other, everyone succeeds. In Guadalajara, Mexico, the sight of a rainbow was a good start. But 2 days before opening their brand new restaurant, Juan Carlos Fernandez needed something more to settle his nerves. Help came in the form of Saul Cajan, fellow franchisee from Mexico City.
Claro, esta no es una tienda mía. It's one of the things I believe throughout the system is what makes us number one. It doesn't really matter if this is my store. If there's a store opening and there's something we can help with, we come and we do it. This will really enable us to grow as a system.
It has certainly worked in Canada, where it's as cold as Mexico is warm. When the McDonald's float passes by in the Quebec City Winter Carnival, Canada's 600 restaurants come to mind. Their expansion across the top of North America was made possible by the helping hands between the corporation and franchisees. One of the reasons McDonald's is a language the whole world understands is Hamburger University.
That way we get the highest quality product on a consistent basis with the shortening level at the correct temperature.
Here, the collective experience from years of operating restaurants is passed on to new managers and franchisees. And behind the experience is the formula that provides the foundation for everything McDonald's does. Simple enough in the 4 letters, Q, S, C, and V. But learning what it takes to provide quality, service, cleanliness, and value, day in and day out, requires a university diploma. As Chief Executive Officer Mike Quinlan points out, the students learn another important secret of McDonald's.
One secret: never be satisfied. That is absolutely it. We've all had our own slogans over the years, but the thing that differentiates us, I think, from so many other people is that we really are never satisfied with what we're doing. We don't compromise on our principles. We try to treat all of each other, including our customers, with the highest degree of integrity. And, you know, it just kind of permeates everything that we do. So as long as we don't get satisfied, you'll see us continue to grow like crazy in the future.
And to think that the whole thing started with a crew of 9, sporting crew cuts at that. Today, the McDonald's crew has grown to hundreds of thousands and has added some new faces. In order to meet the demands of more than 10,000 restaurants, McDonald's has discovered some rich new sources of labor over the last few years. Annie LaFave is 84. She's worked the dining room for 8.5 years. Annie has attracted a huge family of customers. Tuesday mornings have turned into something special. Annie hosts a bingo game for other seniors in their neighborhood. The prizes come from the McDonald's menu, and it's usually a full house.
Not having older employees in the store, like Annie, you have a vacuum in the store. You need to bring in older citizens to work in the store to create around the family concept at McDonald's.
There's a special kind of pride that comes from working at McDonald's that spills out in all kinds of ways. In Mexico, the crew starts the day and finishes it with a cheer. And pride can be found pinned to their shirts when the Employee of the Month is announced. Pride comes in every language. At Hamburger University in Japan, it's seen in the face of a professor when his class recites the ingredients for a Big Mac.
2枚のミートにチーズ、ピクルス、オニオン、レタス、ちょっと忘れました。すいません。
And there's a special pride that comes from teaching kids their first job, watching them grow under the responsibility. And some managers will be lucky enough to experience the day when a new crew member walks in and teaches them something. This is Jeff Braven in the New Rochelle, New York McDonald's, working in what we know as a world of noise. But this is what Jeff hears.
They're like scared because they never saw a deaf person before. And then they start speaking too fast, and I had to tell them, you know, you have to speak slowly and clearly for me to understand. But after a few weeks, they just started to understand. We started to understand each other better, you know, and they understand me and I understand them.
It wasn't long before they were asking Jeff if there were more like him at home. So he recommended his sister Debbie and younger brother Seth.
I was really timid growing up, and I couldn't really, I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to talk with hearing people. And after working here, I feel like I've changed a lot, and I can face the hearing world with, I feel proud of myself. It's like it's a foundation for my future. And I'm considering working at McDonald's as a manager or owner, maybe owning a McDonald's or something.
Jeff Braven learned an important lesson at McDonald's that will help shape his life, and he's not alone. More than 8 million people around the world have trained at McDonald's. Another way to look at it is that when one McDonald's comes to town, whether it's in Dale City, Virginia, or Belgrade, Yugoslavia, more than 60 jobs are created behind the counter. And before it even opens, local carpenters have been hard at work. Plumbers and welders have been there. Bricklayers, excavators, electricians. They'll need a landscaper and refrigeration. And after it's built, the local suppliers will get orders that will change their lives. It's clear, anytime McDonald's opens its doors, it calls for a celebration.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's to Ray Kroc's dream, to the McDonald's dream.
And each time McDonald's comes to town, it brings something else with it, something that grows out of a deeply felt philosophy of giving back to the community it serves. In fact, when some people say McDonald's, they don't think of hamburgers first, they think of children, about helping children.
Jerry, our first contribution from McDonald's and our customers is $625,600.
It can be as simple as joining the fight against muscular dystrophy with Jerry's kids, or as exciting as watching a young Michael Jordan, who starred for the McDonald's All-American High School team, grown to the best in the game. But the Ray Kroc philosophy of giving back may best be appreciated for a house. It's a house for children. Most of us can accept illness as a fact of life, but when our children get sick, it's harder. Ronald McDonald House started as a place to stay in those difficult times, but it's become much more. In Gießen, West Germany, Ronald McDonald House is located near a clinic that treats children's leukemia. It's a wonderful home where children and parents can be together with activities that keep their attention off their serious reason for being there.
This house is a place where you go through a learning process, where the guests here at the house, as well as myself as manager, reach a new level of human maturity. I think that's because in this house, the day in, day out situation is on the border between living and dying, between life and death.
The Ronald McDonald houses, more than 100 around the world, have become havens during the most difficult time in a family's life.
Mom took me to the doctor and they found a large abdominal mass. And they sent me to Chicago. And they did a surgery, exploratory, and I guess they found that it was cancer.
Tracy Houting and her mother will be here for quite a while, waiting for a bone marrow transplant. They found Ronald McDonald House in Chicago just in time.
I call it my shelter in the time of storm. It is staffed by wonderful people who are house managers, fabulous volunteers, many of whom are parents who've had children with illnesses similar to Tracy's. They understand. They know the right questions to ask.
In Tracy's case, the questions are not easy. She was a popular cheerleader in high school, a happy-go-lucky teenager who woke up one morning with cancer.
Well, I still kind of think it's a nightmare sometimes saying I'm going to wake up, but I never do.
There's a lot you could say about a company that would create a Ronald McDonald House, but you don't have